pull that down.
Up the screen.
You need to put the screen down. Put that off.
Okay, first item then is approval of the agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Mayor
Second.
Matheny,
Motion made, second, all in favor?
Mayor Matheny, we need to
Oh,
amend the agenda.
you're right, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I forgot, they said we need to add an item. Thank you, Lisa. I'm trying to get in a hurry. I'd like to add item 7B, Public Works Purchase of a Knuckle Boom. So would you amend your motion
I
to
will
that?
amend my motion.
And you're fine with that? Okay, so, thank you, sorry about that. Okay, approval of agenda, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have a public hearing, annexation 2018-04 on the Long property. The way this will work is that we will have a staff report, and then I'll ask for anyone wishing to speak in favor of the annexation, and then I'll ask for anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the annexation, and then just anyone wishing to speak. The only ones that can ask questions would be the board members up here. So having said that, I will call the public hearing to order and ask for a staff report.
Good evening, thank you. Tonight, we are going to discuss ordinance 2019-01 for an annexation of 5 properties known as the Long properties on South Arundel. It is for annexation 2018-04. On your screen, you will see the map showing the 5 properties. They are in the red hatched area. We have the South Arundel entrance here, coming down all the way down to Pulley Gordon Road and Cypress Farms. As you can see, there is one property that is in the ETJ, the extraterritorial jurisdiction, completely. One that is partially, that's the next one here, partially in the ETJ, and the rest of the properties are in the county, which is why we're having the annexation tonight. In order to do any development, they have to be annexed first. So the applicant is Charles, Luther, and Randall Long. The current zoning is R20 for the parcel that is in the ETJ and R40 for the other 4 parcels. The current land use is listed as vacant and agricultural. The acreage is close to 70 acres. This is a non-contiguous annexation request, and the parcel numbers are listed. The comprehensive plan is for the ETJ area and the corporate limits area. So the request area only has 1 parcel in the ETJ. That parcel is included in the comprehensive plan. It is listed as rural residential. And the other 4 properties are in the service urban region, and those parcels are classified as the long-range utility services area. So the rural residential area is the land currently that is developed and directed for future growth as residential in areas not served currently by municipal sewer and water. And the predominant land use projected for a rural residential area is residential of single-family detached homes. The 4 parcels that are in the county area, but in the short-range urban service area that are classified as a long-range utility services area, the intent for that is that the town will grow into these areas as utilities become available. Based on our 4 dwelling units per acre request that we normally go by for an annexation, a request of 70 acres will yield an estimated 280 dwelling units. And the 2010 census, the average for Zebulon was 2.62 persons per household, which would increase the town's population by 734 people. The transportation plan update shows from the corporate limits to the ETJ limits, a rural roadway with wide paved shoulders along South Arundel. And because the transportation plan is only for the ETJ and the corporate limits, the other portions of the roadway and Pulley Gordon Road were not included. And during a special use process or site plan review process for development, a traffic impact analysis would give guidance to any other transportation improvements that would be required for the development on top of what's already in the transportation plan. For the Greenway, Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Master Plan, it does indicate that improvements will be required at the time of development, such as sidewalks. Again, during the site plan or special use process, these improvements would be required to the extent practicable. Parks and Recreation Master Plan, the town does not currently have one, and the recreation component of the comprehensive plan doesn't give guidance to the placement or assess the needs of parks and recreation facilities. However, at site plan review or the special use process, we would take that into consideration. Water and sewer allocation policy. For the annexation request, allocation is not being requested. If the 70-acre lots did develop as 4 dwelling units per acre, the town would receive a request of about 70,000 gallons per day, and the town currently has enough allocation to accommodate a future request. However, during an annexation, the nearest water and sewer is usually extended by either the development or the town. The town has a responsibility to do that within 2 years of annexation. Even though this is a non-contiguous annexation, we are still bound by that. The nearest infrastructure is just north of Temple Johnson Road here. As it's so far zoomed out, you can't really see the parcels, so I've put a star on the entrance at the South Arundel and at the entrance of where it would be on Pulley Gordon Road. So the parcels would come down through here, if you remember the hatching, and utilities would have to be extended from just north of Temple to the development site. Oh, and to go back, the sanitary sewer is required to be sized for the entire basin since it is the first development coming in, so it would be required to serve the entire basin, not just the development. For town services, Public Works is confident that the request area can be served for street maintenance, trash, recycling, and yard waste. The request area is already in the fire district for Zebulon, and given the close proximity to the corporate limits already, the Zebulon Police Department would most likely be able to respond more rapidly than county sheriffs. As this is a non-contiguous area, and this is a little bit different than our normal annexation requests of contiguous areas, all 5 points of the statute must be met. The first point was that the nearest point of the proposed satellite corporate limits must not be more than 3 miles from the primary corporate limits of the annexing city, and that is the case. No point on the proposed satellite corporate limits may be closer to the primary corporate limits of another city, such as Wendell, than the primary corporate limits of the annexing city, except as set forth in B2 of this section. And then the area must be situated so that the annexing city will be able to provide the same services within the proposed satellite corporate limits as that it provides within the primary corporate limits, such as the recycling, yard waste, trash, police, fire services. If the area proposed for annexation or any portion thereof is a subdivision as defined in General Statute 160A 376, all of the subdivision must be included. This land is considered agricultural or vacant, therefore subset 4 is met, and the area within the proposed satellite corporate limits, when added to the area within the other satellite corporate limits, may not exceed 10% of the primary corporate limits of the annexing city. This section 5 does not apply. There is a whole list of towns. You do have the ordinance, the general statutes, as one of your attachments. It lists all the towns and cities that B5 does not apply to, and the town of Zebulon is one of those. So to recap, for B1, B2, B3, B4, and B5, all these things can be met, and all of these things have to be met in order to be able to annex. So annexation can be moved forward with. For the fiscal analysis, we did do attachment 8 for the approximate cost benefit analysis. You've seen this worksheet before, and it is positive. However, more definitive and accurate reflection cost can only occur once the site is fully developed. So this is mostly proposed and based on the assumption of 4 dwelling units per acre at the 2.62 people per household. And capital costs and property tax revenues dedicated towards capital costs are not shown in the analysis. For the ordinance requirements, the notice of public hearing was mailed to all property owners. The site was posted with the public hearing signs, and the notice of public hearing was advertised in the Zebulon Times. We directed the clerk to investigate sufficiency on May 7th, and sufficiency was met on May 22nd. The requesting annexation is to be immediately effective. The requested board action is to motion to annex the proposed area effective immediately, and staff recommends the approval of ordinance 2019-01. Are there any questions for me?
Thank you. Questions from the board members? Thank you. Okay, now anyone wishing to speak in favor of the annexation? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Yes.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Pam Woods. When I first came in here, I basically was just going to speak in general. I noticed when she made her comments that it talked about a subdivision, that all the subdivision had to be included. Lot 10, which is the property that is on Pulley Gordon Road, is part of the Cypress Farm subdivision. Our covenants out there run for 25 years. At the end of that 25 years, they are successfully every 10 years thereafter, unless the majority of the property owners get together and vote and change those covenants. Section 23 of that Cypress Farm subdivision states that. Section 7 says that no lot shall be divided or subdivided. I guess, and it's also subject to a 1,800 square foot whole house, single story, 1,900 square foot, 2-story. So I would like to ask that y'all take the time to at least look at these covenants to see if what y'all are proposing is going to affect the subdivision, and also any road that may come out onto Pulley Gordon Road, because that lot is subject to these covenants. Also, trying to think what I want to say. I mean, I personally don't want to be in the city limits myself, and annexed into it, but I just want any developer that's coming in to look at that property to let them know that they need to look at those covenants, because that piece of property is not supposed to be subdivided. And that's basically all I had to say. Like I said, I just was going to speak in general, but then when I saw her little section about including the whole subdivision, it does state in there that the covenants expire, but then they don't expire because they succeed for 10 years unless the majority of the owners change those covenants. So I thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
I have a question for you. I'm looking at the map here, and I see the lot that goes out on Pulley Gordon. You're saying the covenants say that just simply cannot be subdivided. Is that correct?
Oh, 1 second. Section 7.
There we go.
No lots may be divided or subdivided into smaller lots. No business or profession shall be carried on from any lot in this development.
Okay.
Okay, I will go to Section 23, it says, these covenants are to run with the land and shall be binding on all parties and persons claiming under them for a period of 25 years from the date on which to declare an agreement is filed for registration in the Register of Deeds of Wake County, North Carolina, and after which period said covenant shall be automatically extended for successive periods of 10 years unless an instrument signed by the majority of the then owners of the lots have been recorded, agreeing to the said changes in the covenants, while or in part provided, however, that any such instrument must be recorded within a 6-month period preceding the end of the 25-year period or the 10-year extension period.
I understand. Now, I'm sorry, I don't have a pointer, but we're talking about that one small area.
Yes, sir, there's a church there, St. Paul, and I have a map of the subdivision if you need to see it.
No, I don't. I just want to be real clear. We're talking about that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, it doesn't say that it can't be annexed, it just says it cannot be subdivided.
Right.
Okay, all right. Just want to be clear.
Yeah, I just want to be sure if a developer went in there that they can't subdivide it.
I understand what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Other questions?
I'm really a little confused, but how come that did not be, I mean, this is a separate parcel then from?
Well, it could be. I don't know. That's up to the developer to say whether he wants it to be or not. But apparently they own that land and they're requesting it. But what she's saying is the covenants say we could annex it, that the developer just couldn't subdivide that one small area. I don't know if he could put a road in there or not. I don't know if that's considered subdividing. So there would be an outlet on Pulley Gordon. That's conjecture on my part. I just don't know.
I don't know either. I just wanted the developer to know that it was part of the Cypress Farm subdivision.
I understand. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Not really.
Well, we want to try again.
Well, you know, if you don't own it, you don't control it.
No, they do own it.
Did
This developer owns it. It's just part of the covenants of another subdivision. So they do own the property.
is this part of it, is this parcel part of a subdivision?
Well, it could be as part of what they want annexed.
Well, I understand that too, but is this parcel a part of the subdivision?
Well, we don't have a subdivision plan.
Well, we don't have a subdivision, but we have the request for the.
Well, I mean, it could or it could not be, Dale. I mean, really, is the way I see it, because, well, yes, but it's not, there's nothing firm about it. It's just a concept. It's not a plan. I mean, you're welcome to give it to the clerk if you'd like to, and we have that in here. But to get it to be a subdivision takes a whole lot more than that piece of paper. It has to have a complete plat that has to be reviewed and on and on and on. So that's a concept, but nothing.
So this time with the subdivision guidelines that we have is not, and it's been reported as not part of the subdivision?
No. Well, I don't know about the recording on it because Julie helped me out here, the steps that, I don't want to make a misquote, but it can be part of the subdivision from what I understand, and they own the property. It's just that they can't subdivide it according to the covenants.
But would we not, as the majority, have to release that property? Can you go to the podium?
To be subdivided. They would have to agree for it to be subdivided, but not for it to be annexed.
Right.
Okay. So when they get ready to develop a plan, they could not subdivide that according to your covenants, but everything else they could. And they could use it, I think, for a road. So that they could.
Even the fact that the covenant said it must be concrete drives, you can still use it for a road?
I don't know. They'd have to get into that when they get to it. Julie, you got a comment on that? Am I right?
Sure.
I didn't include it in your packets, but 160A-376 has a definition of subdivision. And for the purpose of this part, subdivision means all divisions of a tract or parcel of land into 2 or more lots, building sites, or other divisions when any one or more of those divisions is created for the purpose of sale or building development, whether immediate or future, and shall include all divisions of land involving the dedication of a new street or a change in existing streets. And then it lists some of the things that cannot be done as part of a subdivision and things that are exempt from the subdivision, such as the 10-acre rule, where a division of land greater than 10 acres where no street or right-of-way dedication is involved can be exempt. So 160A-376 does define subdivision, and it's not necessarily a subdivision as you would imagine with a row of houses and a street. A subdivision is tied to the parcel itself and whether or not it's been subdivided into smaller lots. And so for the purpose of this part, subdivision means all divisions of a tract or parcel of land into 2 or more lots, building sites, or other divisions when one or more of those divisions is created for the purpose of sale or building development. So for the lot that they own, again, as the mayor said, you can annex, but any development would fall underneath the covenants. The covenants do not restrict the annexation, but it does restrict what they can do with the property if it is annexed, as it is part of a development. But subdivision in this sense means what is going on with that tract of land itself.
Okay, but to be clear, this map that we have here is not binding because they have not presented a subdivision plan.
Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Other questions from the board?
That's fine, I understand that.
Okay, all right. Anyone else who would like to speak in opposition? Anyone that wants to speak, maybe not necessarily for or against, just has something to say? All right, well, thank you, folks. That I will close the public hearing and defer the matter to the town board actually, it's on the agenda later. Typically, just for information purposes, we have a public comment period, and people can come in and sign up to speak at whatever's on their mind for 3 minutes. Just talk to the board. So, and we have a limit of 15 minutes for that. So nobody signed up. The only reason I'm telling you this is for future reference, so you would know if you want to come in and speak, then you could do that. You have to sign up 15 minutes before the meeting. 10? Okay, 10 minutes before the meeting. I'm sorry, I've never signed up myself, so I don't know. All right, thank you. Consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor? Motion carries. All right. Planning, annexation. Ordinance 2019-01. Excuse me.
Do you have any questions?
Questions? No, I don't know that we need to hear it again.
I'm hoping it's fresh in your memory.
Need some water if we do, right? Okay, all right. Okay, not hearing any questions, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 2019-01, the long property on South Arundel Avenue.
Second.
Motion made, second. Other comments or discussion? All in favor? And the motion carries. Thank you. Special use permit, SU 2018-3.
That is me as well.
Yep.
And I have a PowerPoint, but you were at the public hearing last month. Do you want me to recap, or would you like me to just go through for your choices, since you do have the staff report in front of you?
I would say the abbreviated, but unless somebody disagrees with that.
Do what, Julie? What'd you say about the staff report?
Yeah, do you want me to go through the entire staff report, or do you just want me to throw the choices up there for you?
Abbreviate, that's fine. Okay.
And then if you have questions for clarifications, I can give you those, but we do have to be careful with questions as it was a quasi-judicial process, so no new evidence can be submitted outside of the public hearing. So for the quasi-judicial requirements, the proposed special use will not materially endanger the public health, safety, or welfare. The proposed special use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property. The proposed special use will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and will be in general conformity with the ordinances, policies, land use plan, thoroughfare plan, or any other plan officially adopted by you for the town. And your choices are zoning denial with specific finding to a stated reasoning for such, zoning approval without conditions, acceptance of the project as submitted, zoning approval with the selection of conditions provided by staff, board members, and/or the applicant, or you may table it for further study. Staff is recommending approval without conditions, and the planning board unanimously recommended denial based on public safety.
Okay? Questions? Okay, what's your pleasure? What are we gonna do, roll the eyes?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept staff's recommendation and approve SU 2018-3.
So your motion, to be clear,
to
is to
approve.
accept the recommendation?
That's
Okay,
correct.
all right, of the staff. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Other comments or discussion?
I got a comment. I think, I've been thinking about this, and I'm gonna vote against the planning board recommendation on the grounds that, we heard some the other night from the police chief about safety concerns, but I don't think we have enough evidence that it would be a safety concern. What I feel is what we'll do is deny a business, legitimate business, from coming to town. And I just don't see where the safety would, when you talk about safety, what are you talking about? The building's gonna fall in? Or, they deal with cash money? Is that a safety concern about getting robbed? Well, we've got Sheets across the street, we've got Ed's Oil Company, when you come to that, everything's game for robbery. So I'm gonna vote in favor of approving the special use permit for the internet cafe.
Okay. Any other comments?
Well, the comment I would have on it is that, two comments. The one we have out in our neighborhood, I don't think there's been any problems there with it at all. Not from my view of it anyway. I do have a concern with that congested area there. And of course, I said that, that no traffic impact on it, but with the parking and that type of thing. But yet, if it meets all the conditions that we're requiring for the internet cafe, I would have to go along with it.
Thank you. Other comments? All right, I'm assuming you're ready to vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand.
No,
That's the proposal to allow it.
to allow what?
To allow
Well, I thought he made a motion to go along with the planning board.
no, sir.
Don did, huh?
Not staff
No, sir. The motion was to
My
go.
motion was to accept the planning board's recommendation to approve.
Okay.
No, planning board did not make a recommendation.
I'm sorry, not planning board, staff.
Staff.
Staff
Okay, let's
recommendation
be
to
clear.
approve. I'm sorry,
His,
pardon me.
his motion is to approve it,
Is to approve.
correct? And so, let me see a show of hands again. Everybody in favor of the motion to
Do we have a
allow
second?
it?
Who was the second on that?
I did. I seconded.
Okay.
Okay.
Approve.
Yeah.
All against? You gonna vote?
He's gonna vote no.
I know. Let's say that again.
All right, the motion is to approve the business and allow it to go in as they have requested, which is the recommendation of our staff, not the recommendation of the planning board.
Julie, I didn't get a staff report, so I didn't in my packet. So I had no idea what the planning board did. Well, I did, but I don't have any. So that's why I'm hesitant about voting. I never saw the staff report.
All right.
I didn't.
The,
Did you get one?
the staff report was basically the same as the one for the joint public hearing, where I went over the comprehensive plan, where am I allowed to recap since the motion is already in play? Am I allowed to answer his question?
Yes, that's fine. It's just a clarification.
So we went over the findings of fact, and it complies. We went over the uses for the zoning, and it complied. We went over the land use, and it complied. We went over the transportation, and it complied. We went over the Greenway Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan, and the request complied. We went over water and sewer allocation, and the request complied, and the ordinances complied. So the staff recommendation was to approve the special use permit. The planning board voted to deny the special use permit on the point that it would materially endanger the public health, safety, and welfare. And then the recommended action was to approve, and we have a motion on the table, seconded by Annie, to approve the use.
Okay, I just want to make sure I get that clear before.
Yep.
And for clarification, we have 4 yea votes. Now we have 5, so the motion carries. Thank you. Okay, all right, thank you. We'll be sure you understand what
I want to make sure I did too.
I understand. Okay. Thank you, Julie. All right. Street closing request, Shiloh Temple. Who's handling that?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Larnell Phillips. I'm representing Shiloh Temple tonight, and we're requesting that the street Primrose be closed in between Barbie and Oak Street for our 2018 Community Day festivity from the hours of 9 to 4. In the event of any emergencies, there will be cones there that they could have access. It's not a total blockage.
I know before, when you've done that, you've been able to drive through there.
Yes, sir, exactly.
So you've never actually blocked it, and I understand that. So, okay, other questions from any of the board? Yes, Chief?
Yes, sir.
You have, Mayor, you have in front of you a request, as he's just mentioned, from Shiloh Temple. There is a requirement, which DOT requires that there is an acknowledgement, written acknowledgement from the local government to approve this. So the staff report that we have in there, there are actually 4 points that we want to make sure are in there. Number one, it's a state-maintained road. So the state has to close the road, actually close Primrose Street. The state has to agree to do that. It's simply that we have to acknowledge approval of that, or that we're not opposed to that.
Right.
And then the second point is that the church is required, and we would ask, the police department would ask that the church be required to notify all the residents of Primrose Street whose driveway access would be blocked, and that they would not block Oak Street or Barbie Street intersections at all. So we can have free passage of police vehicles there and also fire vehicles. And the fourth thing is that the church would understand that they have to man the barricades that they have on Primrose Street. So that means, you know, basically station a person at those barricades that if emergency traffic would have to come through those barricades, that they could be moved at that time. So we do, the staff of the police department and the fire department, as we discussed it, we are not opposed to this closing. We recommend that it be approved. but just based upon those. And this also would meet that requirement for DOT for a written recommendation from us.
And this has been done before. So you've been down this path, so to speak.
Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah, thank you, Chief. Other questions? All right, what's your pleasure?
I make a motion, we allow them to close
Approve.
Primrose.
We endorse the,
We do.
yes, okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Other comments or discussion? All in favor? And the motion carried.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, the forgotten change that I forgot to add. Public Works purchase of the knuckle boom. Chris?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. First of all, thank you for adding this to the agenda. Tonight we come before you asking for your consideration of approving the 2018 knuckle boom truck purchase under the North Carolina Sheriff's Association Cooperative Purchase Group at a price of $136,750. Just for record, the unit that we're looking to purchase is a demo unit. It has 30 hours and 1,200 miles on it. A couple of benefits of going ahead and purchasing this truck now is we'll forego the 10-month delivery process. We also will not be subject to the tariffs that were placed on China steel that could be up to 25%. So between the sooner delivery, the potentially cheaper price by not being exposed to the tariffs, also that our 01 truck that has shown significant amount of age that we discussed in our budget process will not be having to continue to use it since this truck should be delivered to us by mid-August, excuse me. We're also looking at potentially a $1,400 savings less than it being new. So staff is recommending that, that you approve this purchase tonight. And go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
The only other thing I was going to mention, the truck is very similar to the truck you see on the road today. I actually looking at it, you'll probably not see any differences between it.
Okay.
Chris, how many hours do you normally get on a vehicle like this? I know
The one that we're retiring is approaching 10,000 hours if it is not already past 10,000. I think when we presented to you at the work sessions for the budget, we had right at 9,940 hours or something on it. So we expect to get about 10,000 useful hours out of this truck.
Other questions?
Chris, I'm curious, how'd you find this truck?
As part of being a little bit lucky, sir, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I've been working with the vendor, I called him and notified him that y'all had approved this truck purchase in the budget, and I just asked out of the blue, did you have a demo? He said, actually, I got one in South Carolina. You interested in it? And I said, yes, sir. So, just a little bit of luck, to be honest with you, sir.
So you're saying you'll take luck over skill?
Absolutely, sir.
I will too. Okay, other questions?
What's the NC Sheriff Association got to do with it?
They have developed a cooperative purchase agreement that's developed over the last probably 5 years. They started out originally working with police type of police cars and packages and stuff like that. Over the last 3 or 4 years, they've expanded it to anything that you municipal entities would typically get into, from a street sweeper to a backhoe. Their list has really expanded and grown. By them being a part of a cooperative purchase agreement, they are basically doing the bidding for us and allows us not to go through that bidding process. And so they're basically bundling the purchasing power of the association to negotiate better deals for us.
Other questions? Somebody got a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a demo knuckle boom truck.
Second.
Motion made, second. Other comments or discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Board comments. Annie Jean, I'll start with you tonight. Do you have anything?
I don't have anything.
Okay, Beverly? Don? Dale? Nope. Everybody's quiet. All right, manager's report.
Just a couple of public service announcements. Friday is movie night at the community center, and they're showing Coco which I'll personally attest to is a very good movie. Doors open at 6:30 and the popcorn's free. Then following day, Saturday, we have our Farm Fresh Market. This Saturday is Customer Appreciation Day. And then the following Saturday, the 21st, is Christmas in July. So we've been told Santa will show up, but also Cousins' Maine lobster truck, very popular food truck, will be on location as well. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, that completes the agenda, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
In a second? We're adjourned.